Hello everybody, welcome back to another video about the High Roller VGC Draft League, which of course means that our Week 1 match is over. For those of you who caught it live on stream, thanks for being there. We had a nice little crowd going on. And for those of you who didn't, I'm not going to spoil the result. After we talk about my team, we're going to sort of go through, discuss how my team building process went, what my threats were, what I was sort of the process as a whole. And then we're going to jump into the VOD, and I'm just going to sort of do a bit of a VOD review. So, with all that in mind, let's get started. Now, our opponent's team, for reference, the 11 that our opponent could choose from were Urshifu Dark, Thunderous Incarnate, which is already a pretty scary core, Gastrodon, Alola Marowak, Alcremie, Tsarina, Morpeko, Tornadus Incarnate, Sylveon, Diggersby, and Lycanroc. So off the bat, the first things that I think about are Urshifu Thunderous, which is already a good lead. That was a common lead in Series 7. It's very, very scary. Now, of course, Thunderous can max and just boost the speed of Urshifu or the attack of Urshifu. It's very, very, very scary. You can't intimidate it because it has Defiant. Yeah. Now, Gastrodon was an interesting one because I knew he had to bring it. Because I have both Lapras and Tentacruel, so he has to bring Gastrodon. So we can lock that in. And then you have a couple of these, like, Lycanroc Midday, Morpeko, Tsarina. None of those really do anything against my team. I don't have any priority, really, on my team. So, Tsarina does nothing. Lycanroc Midday just doesn't really find a huge niche against my team. Diggersby is dangerous, but I didn't expect him to bring it. It could have worked next to Tornadus. I had an answer for it, but that was kind of the thought process. Alcremie was probably... I was in a position, I prepared for Scarf Alcremie. Any other variation... Any other variation of Alcremie was not going to work. But, so I prepared for Scarf Alcremie. And, yeah, so here's what we might see, what you might notice as the first thing, if you're looking at the spreads, is that that's very defensive heavy. Now, for a league like this, there's a lot of preparation goes into it. A lot of calcs go into this, which might not seem immediately obvious when you look at, like, 252, 252, 4 on Lapras. The reason for this is simple. He doesn't have any special threats that actually deal a ton of damage. Gastrodon is a special attacker, sure, but it's not that strong. So all of his big threats are physical. So I can just go max defense and max HP and bold nature on these two Pokemon and be really, really safe. Togetic, for an example, doesn't, like, it takes, like, Alola Marowak is a really strong Pokemon. With Thick Club, if it hits this Togetic with a max flare, if it's max attack, if the Marowak is max attack, it does like 75%. Togetic shrugs it off. So, really sick set on our EV spreads on Togetic and Lapras to make them just chunky as all hell. Now, Shell Armor also negates the Wicked Blow critting for Urshifu, which is also really, really good on Lapras. No really need to run Water Absorb. And from here, we can see there's 36 special attack on Togetic, which you might be wondering about. That's just to guarantee the one-hit KO on a standard Urshifu Dark, if it's running something other than a Focus Sash. So if it's running like Choice Band, which is not super uncommon, then this will guarantee the KO. It's really nice. Sceptile Weakness Policy comes in. You've already seen this as well, looking at the Lapras moveset. It's not offensive. I can max it, and I can drop a Resonance if I need to, but I was not planning on it. It's running Ice Shard to proc our Sceptile's Weakness Policy. And basically, the Sceptile is EV'd to outspeed max speed Thunderous in Tailwind with the Unburden. So this outspeeds max speed Thunderous. Max attack gives me, it's not quite perfect, it gives me an 81% chance of one-hit KOing the Thunderous. So it's a little bit of a range, but still very reliable. The rest into defense, again, for the same reason as these. I specifically have these moves because A, Rock Slide gets me a KO on Thunderous and Tornadus, which is really, really nice. Leaf Blade is stab and gets me KOs on things like Alcremie, for example, or Gastrodon, or even things like Urshifu or Sylveon. And Earthquake is just there in case I need to beef up special defense. It's not really super important for this one, but yeah, I mean, it also gives me some damage against Marowak, right? So Dugtrio is a bit of a weird one here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring Dugtrio. It wasn't going to ever be a part of the team, really. Basically, the game plan was I thought that I couldn't think of a sixth Pokemon that I really liked for this team. So I figured what I can do is I can bring Dugtrio. It gets Ally Switch, so I can do some memes with like Excadrill or Sceptile if they're maxed. And it can Earthquake. That's not bad. But really, the benefit of having Dugtrio and also Lapras is that it forces them to play around Perish Trap. which is never a fun thing to do. I even dropped Perish Song at a completely unnecessary time in game 1, as you'll see later, because that was part of the plan. I wanted him to be constantly thinking about the possibility of having to play against Perish Trap Dugtrio. So that's mostly the reason it's here. I didn't expect to bring it to any games. Excadrill, though, paired with Togetic, one of the 2 leads that I was really planning on using here. Excadrill Togetic's really good. Lapras Sceptile's really good. Excadrill sets its own sand with Rock Slide, with Max Rockfall. And basically, to put it in the words of my friend Charisma, who helped me prepare, Steel Spike, Quake, and Max Rockfall kind of kill this entire team. So Excadrill does very, very well here. So he just is kind of a standalone. Sand Rush naturally, so that I can offset the Tailwind boost that he's probably going to get. And then Spectrier comes in mainly as a threat. Now, if we talk about threats that my opponent has for me, there aren't any, really, except for one. Marowak Alola. Max speed Marowak Alola in Tailwind was a problem in practice. But it's also kind of a nonsense pick. Like, unless you specifically knew what I was gonna run, which, I mean, he could have inferred if he prepared in a different way. Like, you'd expect that that's not what you'd lead game 1 even, right? So Spectrier is here. It gets me Will-O-Wisp on this myriad of physical attackers. It gets me Taunt to prevent a late game Tailwind if I need to get into a position like that. But really, it also just gets the ability to just apply pressure to the Marowak. He can't just lead Marowak in game 1 if there's a Spectrier here. He doesn't know if it's offensive. And if I lead Spectrier against Marowak, he can't max the Marowak because it's gonna die if I target it. So Marowak with Tailwind gets very, very fast, but it does not outspeed max speed Spectrier. Now, my Spectrier is not max speed. I was never going to max it, but if he did all the calcs, he would know that it was not a reliable thing that he could do. So, with all that in mind, what was the game plan? The game plan was really simple. Initially, we realized Excadrill tears through this whole team. And then we realized Sceptile gets the same moves and also tears through the whole team. This Protect used to be Iron Tail for the Alcremie, but then I realized that Leaf Blade deals with it easily enough anyway. So yeah, the plan was really simple. I practiced a lot. I did a lot of prep with this team to try to deal with like all of these potential things that he could throw at us. And I didn't think that there was anything except for the Marowak. And for the Marowak, I thought Excadrill countered the Marowak. The Marowak only really countered the Sceptile opening. So with all that in mind, let's look at the games, okay? Let's jump on into them. Looking at the game, we'll go through it. I think what we'll do is we'll go at a little bit faster than normal. We'll go at like 1.5 times speed, right? So we see a Tornadus Thundurus opening. This is perfection. This is brilliant for me. So Tornadus is always going to use Trick Room here, or Tailwind here. And Thundurus does not outspeed my Sceptile. As I talked about before, Sceptile does not guarantee the KO on Thundurus, but the absolute worst case scenario is that Thundurus dies to the follow-up Sandstorm. So worst case scenario, we are trading maxes here, and I'm getting Excadrill in with Sand. So that's a really bad position if that happens. He decides not to actually Tailwind, which is really weird to me. I don't know why he did that. I guess maybe he realized that Sceptile was going to be faster anyway with Unburden. But I don't know if he was thinking about the weakness policy proc, because as you'll see, he maxes his Thundurus in front of this thing. So we see the Thundurus max, the Sylveon switch in, and the first thing that you may have actually noticed, even before any of this started happening, is that the guy didn't bring Marowak. So Jam did not bring Marowak Alola. As soon as I saw there was no Marowak on this team of 6, I was convinced that I won the match. I was super happy with that. So the Ice Shard comes in, does a not zero amount of damage, but yeah, this is the problem with Sceptile now for him. It just kind of KOs everything. Rockfall comes in, takes the hit onto the Thundurus, down it goes, no crit, nothing like that. And in is gonna come Urshifu Dark. Now, Urshifu Dark, with Lapras specifically EV'd to and IV'd with 0 attack IVs to not do a lot of damage to Sceptile. Sceptile actually survives a max attack choice banded Wicked Blow in Dynamax, but he doesn't even have Tailwind up. I mean, that wouldn't even matter in this position. You can see I was considering going for Sylveon here. I decided in the end that it was more likely that he was going to protect the Sylveon. This was a good read by him. I went after the Urshifu, and with Lapras, this is where I decided I was going to click Perish Song. Because in my brain, there was 2 ways that this could go. Either he sees Perish Song and it's on his mind for the rest of the series, or if I KO the Urshifu and I get the Perish Song on the Sylveon, then the Sylveon is Perish Songed. Like, that's great. Now, what ends up happening is that he protects the, or detects the Urshifu. Really good play by him. Doesn't work for me. Crits the Sceptile, which puts me in a bit of an awkward spot, because now what happens here is that I was very scared because I thought he was going to Sucker Punch me. And I ended up doing some mental math. I didn't have like a calculator open or anything during this match, but I know that he's not choice banned because he's just detected. And if he's not choice banned, I was pretty sure with my defense investment that I wasn't at least a guaranteed KO for Sucker Punch. I was scared of Sucker Punch, but it wasn't worth like switching out over it. So I decided, all right, we're gonna overgrow into the Sylveon though. So I decided, you know what, Urshifu's gonna switch out. I'm gonna read the Tornadus switch in, and that's why I freeze dried that slot. Good read. Tornadus comes in, and this is a little bit of an awkward thing that sometimes you'll see when you're playing against players who, not even like bad players, right, but just like players who don't know how good you are, is that it's often safer to assume that the opponent is bad. So he went for the obvious play, but you know, then the counterpoint to that is that if it's the obvious play, I know it's the obvious play, so I play around it. So in this case, I went for the Sylveon, got the KO on that. Perish Song ends up being useless now because he's gotten the switch out, and the Sylveon's already dead. But that's fine. At this point, the game is pretty much over. Now I'm really worried about Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch 100% KOs Sceptile here. It definitely KOs Sceptile. I don't know why he doesn't use it. I don't know if he was running it. He never used it. But yeah, I get the Rock Slide off of the Tornadus. That KOs that. The reason I went Perish Song is that I was pretty sure that he was going to KO my Sceptile here with Sucker Punch. So I didn't think Sceptile was going to get a hit off. But yeah, we got a hit off. We got the Perish Song off as well, which didn't really matter. And then from here, the rest of this game is just kind of, you know, it doesn't take a genius to see where this is going from here. There we go. Second game starts on up. And at this point, I had a game plan, right? My plan was to open Sceptile Lapras, and my plan all along was to open Togetic Excadrill game 2. And this was accounting for him seeing the Sceptile lead and opening Marowak. Now, he doesn't have Marowak, but I still decided to switch it up anyway. It's good to be unpredictable, and also in all of my practice, I didn't really see a counter to Togetic Excadrill on his team at all. I didn't see a single way that he could beat it. Now, this was unfortunate for him. I understand the thought process. He's gonna protect his Sylveon. And I guess the thought process is that Excadrill wants to boost defense because all of his attackers are physical. But it's vastly more important for me to set Sand to prevent Tailwind from being a thing, right? Like, that's so much more important for me. And boosting defense doesn't even do that much for me necessarily because A, there isn't really a great way for Thundurus to hit my Excadrill, and B, Wicked Blow crits me anyway, so it ignores the boost. Now, there is an argument to be made that, like, maybe I should have boosted the defense on Togetic to make it last longer, but really, I think Sand was much more important here. It proved to be the correct play in this situation at the very least. So, in comes Thundy, and yeah, I mean, at this point, he doesn't have an answer on his team for Togetic Excadrill, which is a little bit unfortunate because I feel like it's the most obvious thing for me to bring in the entire team. Like, I get being taken aback by, like, the Sceptile, right? But Togetic Excadrill is something that I would definitely have prepared for if I was in his position. But again, I don't really think he has a good answer for it on his team of 11, so it's a little bit of an unfortunate matchup. Now, we knew the matchups before the draft, so there is an argument to be made that our opponents should have prepared for us. Some of my picks later on were definitely preparations for some of the opponents I was facing. Now, Thundy goes to the Airstream here. We're going to see a crit from the Sylveon again, but this time I don't think it mattered. Keeping in mind I have no defensive investment or special defense investment, I'm pretty sure it would have KO'd me anyway. The big story here, though, is that Thundy does not survive that. This is the main problem. Thundurus is the main max on his team, and I have two different Pokemon that can just one-shot it very, very easily. So, down goes the Thundy. At this point, the game is pretty over, even with the KO on the Togetic. We're going to see Urshifu come in here, and I actually did not calc this the way I should have. There's Tailwind in, so I was considering, do I switch the Spectrier out to try to just bait a Wicked Blow into Lapras? That's not going to get crit. But what I decided in the end was I wasn't sure if Excadrill was going to one-hit KO the Urshifu, and I didn't want him to read me and just go for close combat into the Excadrill and just really fuck me up. So what I decided to do here is I figured the Sylveon Protect makes a lot of sense, especially since in the last game Urshifu got me with a Detect, so just from a mental standpoint it makes sense. You can see me even like selecting Lapras as a switch in here before changing my mind. What I figured here was that either Spectrier gets a Will-O-Wisp off on the Urshifu, or Urshifu dies. That was the thought process. And it turns out he decides to go after the Spectrier. Fair enough. Protect on the Sylveon as well. Like, the Sylveon can't really do very much to a max Excadrill, to be completely honest with you. It has Mystical Fire, but like Mystical Fire non-stab, 75 base power is not really going to do what you need it to. This brings Urshifu down to its Sash. It dies to the Sandstorm, and from here the game is just over. He has one more turn of Tailwind, so you're going to see I'm going to speed up the game now a little bit more to 2 times. And yeah, we're going to bring in the Lapras. We're going to double protect here really quickly just to get rid of the last turn of Tailwind. Then he's going to protect to get rid of Sand, which is the correct play. You never know what my spread is on Excadrill in case I ran for like some really dumb spread where he was going to be able to get the outspeed with Sylveon. That's a very fair decision for him to drop a Protect here on the upcoming turn. You might as well, you know, play to your outs, even if your outs is your opponent messing up. So Sylveon goes for the Protect. The Sandstorm subsides. But as it turns out, I am not dumb, and I did in fact go for 252 speed on my Excadrill. Not max speed, we are running Adamant, but yep. Iron Head goes in, Sylveon goes down, and that's it. A 2-0 to kick off the league. Not bad at all. Really, really nice for me. $25 dues in the bag. Really excited. Triggered is our next opponent. We're playing against Hard Rain next week. Triggered lost their first match 2-0 against Scoligo, which is going to be interesting. Scoligo is a good player. Triggered arguably has the better team on paper, though. So the fact that Triggered lost that match is very interesting to me. Of course, I will be keeping you guys updated with how things go. Next week is going to be the next match. I don't know when just yet, but keep an eye out on my stream. The stream will be in the description below. You can also join the Discord, which is also in the description below, to get updates on how things are going in this draft league. So follow the stream, subscribe to the YouTube if you're more interested in the post-game analysis kind of deal. Hit the bell to know when the next video goes live, and hit a like on this video if you're enjoying the VGC High Roller League content. Now, before we go, a couple shout-outs. My friend Charisma, who helped me out with the team, or with the preparation for this week. My friend Chalky, who helped me out with the preparation this week. My friend Rebo, who also helped me out a little bit with the prep this week. And my friend Pedons, who helped me out, not so much this week, but with the draft, and is going to be helping me out next week. So big shout outs to the crew. We got a very, very healthy front office running. It feels very WBE, honestly. So it's very, very cool. So definitely check out next week. Check out the stream. And I will see you guys next time for another roundup of the VGC High Roller Draft League. Bye-bye.